Don't forget, you can reach the latest episode of Potomac Watch anytime. Just ask your smart speaker, play the Opinion Potomac Watch podcast.
From the opinion pages of the Wall Street Journal, this is Potomac Watch.
Welcome back. Kim, is there a real risk here for Democrats, as Colin lays out, that this tumult might overshadow the message that they are trying to send about Kamala Harris, this new Democratic nominee that many American voters don't necessarily know a whole lot about, or what she would plan to do for the country over the next 4 years if she's elected into the Oval Office on her own right? And how do you think that she should handle that question and that problem? It was notable. There were some headlines a couple weeks ago. Kamala Harris was having a rally, I think in Michigan, and was getting heckled by some sort of demonstrator, and she shut that down and said something to the effect of, if you want Donald Trump to win, then keep saying that. I'm speaking. Kim, I mean, I suppose it's not out of the question that there might be some sort of heckler who gets into the arena this week, but Kamala Harris could at least make some sort of statement about where she stands and where the Democratic Party stands on these questions.
Here's my prediction, just in terms of how this plays. If the demonstrations are large, but they largely do remain peaceful, then I think that the press isn't going to cover them much. They'll give a certain amount of attention to them, and this convention will go on, and there'll be a note that they were there and that a certain part of the party is unhappy, but it won't be a theme of this week. If there is violence, and if it grows and becomes more widespread, that I think is a risk to her. As for her speaking up, I've noticed, and watch for this because it's what I'm going to be watching this week, is I've begun to notice that some Democrats are saying these folks are not part of our coalition. They're a very, very tiny fraction of it, if anything. They're on the fringe. They don't represent the Democratic Party. I think that's a very difficult lift to make because obviously they do have influence. I mean, we can just look most recently, for instance, at her decision not to go with Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, because of his views on Israel. They obviously do have sway in the party. So what I'm going to watch for is Kamala Harris going to get up on that stage, or other surrogates of hers get up on that stage this week and seek to also distance themselves from these people and say, these aren't even us. That's a little bit of a risk because there are a lot of people that are potential voters in this crowd. And so far, they've been very careful to tiptoe and try to walk a line between them. But to be clear, what they are demanding is not a ceasefire. They're demanding a complete cutoff of any American support for Israel, both in terms of money and arms, but also even moral support in their aim of fighting against terrorists. And notably, the Democratic Party platform, which was released yesterday, maintains the Democratic Party's position to Israel. I thought that was a very positive thing. So it doesn't seem as though they're going to fold under this, but let's see if they try to distance themselves.
Colin, we'll give you the last word. That platform is nearly 100 pages, I think, and haven't had a chance to go through it all entirely yet. But I think that's something that I and many other voters, observers will also be looking for, is a better sense of what this Democratic Party under Kamala Harris actually stands for. Because to circle back where we began, Joe Biden ran in 2020 as the centermost, perhaps, candidate in that Democratic primary, the alternative to Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. And I agree with what we've discussed, that he has not governed that way at all. But Kamala Harris, to my mind, is still more of a mystery. She campaigned in 2019, 2020 as a progressive, calling to ban fracking and so forth, calling for Medicare for all. She has sort of backed away from those stances, but not in a way that has entirely repudiated them. And so I'll be looking to see if there's any more hints that we can get about how a President Harris would actually want to govern and what she would try to get done.
Yeah, I mean, I think in several cases, Harris is now actually promising more than the platform. And I think she'll continue to define herself as really reaching further into those liberal priorities that you're mentioning. You know, platform itself has many sort of very standard laundry list items about the minimum wage and passing legislation to enshrine Roe v. Wade and all of these different things that they want to put out there to encourage working family support for the Democratic Party. But I think a lot of what you're going to get from Kamala Harris is going to be in that hall at the convention center on the floor. So I'm really going to be looking to hear what's said live more than what is written in that document. So it's going to be fun to watch.
Thank you, Colin and Kim. Thank you all for listening. You can email us at pwpodcast@wsj.com. If you like the show, please hit that subscribe button. We'll be back tomorrow from Chicago with another edition of Potomac Watch.